Hello, folks, and welcome once again to another edition of River Chat. This week, folks, we need to first start out with our prayers going to the folks in Oklahoma. As we all watched that video, you couldn't help but have these recent hurricanes just flood back into our memories, and we know well what those folks will be going through. So we'll always keep them in our prayers. But to get back here to home, some interesting activity going on. One, as per his promise, our new sheriff, Lonnie Greco, has been conducting a set of town hall meetings. We got to go to the one he held in Bell Chase, and we videotaped it for you, and we want you to be able to see what he's has to say. Of course, there was a lot of interest surrounding the idea that there might be some traffic cameras and that kind of thing. He addresses that issue as well. The council meeting was last Thursday, and I know for sure we'll find out what the reaction was to the president's veto of a previously agreed to item concerning our trash collection and other items. And down in Baton Rouge, our representative Chris Leopold has been working hard to try to affect a change in what's called the MFP, which is the formula by which the Board of Education, the Bessie Board, calculates how much money each school district in the state receives. And because they somehow think that we're a rich parish down here, we are denied the really what we feel like is the fair due to our school kids from the state of Louisiana. So Chris has put together some of the work that he's been doing on the state floor in Baton Rouge. We'll have a chance to listen to him. And as the legislative session winds down, we'll be sure to bring Chris on camera to get answers to not only this question of the MFP and its funding of our school system, but the entire legislative session as well. So River Chat gets underway, folks, right after this.
As you know, when you shop Balestras, you're almost home. But did you know that they now have rotisserie chickens and they make their own fresh baked French bread daily? It's just another addition to one of the best meat departments in the metro area.
And the most important thing is the meat department. They got the best meat department in the state of Louisiana, and you're going to get fresh stuff cut right then for you.
Who needs a chef when there's a Balestras?
For over 20 years, Russo's Pharmacy, an independently owned full-service retail drugstore, has been committed to providing quality service to the residents of Plaquemines Parish. We're the right alternative to shopping at the big chain stores because here, you're not just a number, you're a neighbor. Our pharmacists are friendly, knowledgeable, and happy to take the time to answer any questions you may have about your medications. We accept most major insurance plans, including TRICARE, Medicaid, and Medicare Part D, and invite you to experience a level of personal service at Russo's you won't get anywhere else.
Again, thank you very much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and start off the meeting tonight to let you know that as far as the photo enforcement speed cameras that I've been trying to get pushed forward, thinking that it was going to be in the best interest of public safety for our children, our families, because I don't know if you know or not, but it's over 52,000 vehicles that travel this highway every single day. And because of the controversy that I've been getting back and forth with citizens are very concerned about it, I think it's just time for me that I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the table. I'm going to ask the councilmen to go ahead and defer it because I don't want to put something or shove something down you that you don't like. It's not fair. I'm very happy that you elected me as your sheriff, and I know that you want me to do the job that you elected me to do, and I am going to do that. By means, no matter what it takes to get it done, we will make sure that we take care of our citizens of this parish. So because of all the calls that we've been getting and and some of the flack that some people have been getting back and forth with each other. We're such a small community, like people had said, but for me, and I feel differently, but I'm only one person. And you have to go by what the results of the citizens want. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the table for now and leave it there until we have further discussions, maybe later on down the line at another time. It's just not meant for right now. But I'm hoping that in the future, from here on out, that nobody gets hurt on this highway. These people actually speed through here at an average of 68 to 75 miles per hour right through here. And it's very sad, but I'm just concerned that one day that somebody's going to pull out from a side street, because people had asked me about the issues of, well, why you didn't do the traffic study in the neighborhoods. Well, I feel that a lot of you live off the neighborhood, off the highways, and when you're going to come off that driveway to get onto that Belle Chase Highway, no matter where it's at on LA 23, you got somebody coming at you at 75 miles an hour or 80. And it might not be just a car, it might be an 18-wheeler or a dump truck, and kill one of your family members. I would never want that for anybody. But again, I apologize for the way, I went about it. I thought I was looking out for the best interests of our citizens and our families. And I just don't like to cause controversy. But the good men and women that work for us and work for you every day will be out here to do that job. And that's to make sure that we take care of you citizens. As you can see, this is our organizational structure. And the reason I'm doing all of this is because, we have critics, and I'm not going to make everybody happy in this parish. I'm going to make some happy, and I'm going to actually probably, make other people unhappy. But I'm here to do a job, and that is law enforcement, to make sure everybody is safe. But as you see, I'm here at the top, and right underneath me is Brian Boudreau, our chief deputy. And then right here to the side is our legal advisors. As you can see, there are 2 attorneys in that box. Critics say we have 3, there's 2. Internal Affairs is Lieutenant Harris Furlow. Right now, he's not here today. He is in Texas. He is completing his classes for more education for the Internal Affairs, to bring us back more information, just in case we miss something on our policy. Legislative Liaison, everybody knows this name, Ernest Wooten. And Ernest does a great job in Baton Rouge. He's very well liked through the Senate and state representatives, but also through the Louisiana Sheriff's Association. He's so well liked over there and respected that anytime we got any kind of bills that pertain to law enforcement or whatever it does pertains to this parish, Ernest makes sure he calls me up, notifies me what's going on, and lets us know what's the best interest for this parish, and I appreciate what he's doing there. Right here underneath that is the Deputy Chief of Corrections in East Bank, Michael LaFrance, and right underneath him, he has Commander of Prison Management, which is Terry Rutherford, and then on the other side of the operations is the Warden, which is Orban Tenson. Right here is also the Commander of Support Services, Curtis Bowers, and right below him, he has computer systems, criminal records, evidence, fleet, dispatch, and radio communications. That's a big, big burden right here, because these computers and these radios, we depend on them very highly for our officers when they're out there on the streets, and Curtis and his group does a great job. Right to the right of that is the Chief Deputy of Tax and Civil. Before, you used to have 2 slots here. You had the tax chief, and then you had the civil chief. We did away with it. We combined it. Monica started back with Bonnie Schomburger when she was 18 years old for the department, working in civil. She knows her job so well on both sides that we went ahead and made one position, eliminating a chief's position. So saving money by that way, by doing it the way I thought it just worked out for us. Underneath her, you have tax collections, payroll, accounts payable, grants, civil, and purchasing. And she has many, many good people underneath her that work diligently on what that's going on today. And once you see the numbers on the next slides, or a few slides over that, after that, you're going to see that this department has worked so hard in the last 10 months to get us where we're at. I think that when you're going to see the numbers, some of y'all are going to be very shocked. And then on the other side here is the Deputy Chief of Operations, George King, and underneath there he has Command of Training and Public Information Officer, which is Eric Becknell. And then underneath that is patrol, narcotics, detectives, and polygraphs. As far as the patrol, it goes from Belchase to Venice. And then with the polygraphs, we did 24 last year. Yes? I'm sorry. With the polygraph machine, we got very fortunate with that when we brought it in. That piece of equipment cost us $7,500. The man was already trained when he was at Jefferson Parish. And when he came in here, this year alone, we've done 47 to 48 polygraphs. And by doing so, I don't know if y'all saw the story, it was up in, I think it was Los Angeles, California, for LAPD, where this guy was a captain and went rogue and started shooting up police officers because some kind of incident that took place. And the article that I read today, it says if you don't do your job diligently when you're doing an investigation for a guy that you're bringing into the department, you might have a mishap down the line that's going to cause you problems. And that's why we do what we do now with the application process. It's very lengthy, but you would not believe the things that we catch. And I don't want to have an officer that's going to be on the street here working for us that we're going to have problems for our citizens. Next slide here. Talking about our budget, when I first come in here, we reorganized the way we operate our vehicles and everything. We cut 40% in 2012, reduced it by $11,000 per month. When I first came in office, we had a $97,000 a month gas bill. That was crazy. We need to try to revamp that. So what we did was started talking to all our patrol officers and our administration on how we can better serve the community and try to save money. And so what we did was we just made sure we better managed ourselves. Also, we had to go ahead and come into compliance with the IRS. By doing so, it was like $3-something a day for a car for somebody to have because it was actually a benefit to them. So I said, well, how about if I just do $100 across the board a month for somebody who lives in the parish and $150 for somebody who lives out the parish, but these guys just take that car to and from work. And if they got to go to the store, that's fine, but we don't want to make it as a family vehicle. So by doing so, just recently, we had another fuel card called Right Express. We was paying 28 cents above what they pay at the pump. Not at the pump, but for the consumer himself. And Ms. Val worked so hard at it that she found another card called Fuel Man. By going to Fuel Man, we cut it in half to 14 cents, saving an additional $4,400 per month on top of this. It's going to be almost a cost savings of $60,000 a year extra with just this figure right here added to that per month. So we have made strides. We do have policies in place for our officers with these vehicles, including me. Nobody here is exempt. In order to lead by example, you have to lead. And I make sure that whatever their policies are pertains to me also. And you can see where it gives us an average of 23 cents per gallon on the savings. Cell phones will just, out the box here, by doing just this little bit right here, we cut 59%, saving $3,000 per month by just giving the officers who needs the cell phones, the phones. For everybody else, it doesn't pay for us to just go ahead and spend money. I'm not going to say it's recklessly. Just make sure we spend it more wisely. It's your money. Computer-related savings. Right here, Curtis went to work. We had Vantos, Spillman, and some other type of technology we had. And Curtis came to a consensus that we can go ahead and try to put it together. And what he did was, when he talked to Spillman, we got rid of Vantos, and we saved another $65,000 there. Another example of budget responsibility, advertising, we reduced by 78%. Aircraft fuel, reduced by 50%. Aircraft maintenance, reduced by 80%. Auto insurance, reduced by 10%. Auto maintenance, reduced by 30%. Boat and vessel, by 30%. Consulting fees, this here, 90% is a big chunk. I think we was paying like $15,000 a month for a consultant up in Washington, D.C. They wasn't doing much. I said, let's cut it out, save 90%. Office equipment, reduced it by 30%, and travel expense, reduced by 80%. So when somebody would say, or any critics was going to say that we spend our money recklessly, the proof is in the pudding right here. Capital bond loans. For some that don't know what that is, I'll explain to you what is it. It was a loan that was floated by Sheriff Jeff Hingle. Why? They wanted to have the complex in the back by the Belchase State School to be built. That was the complex back there in the firing range. What can the money be used for? Bricks and mortar and special equipment like vehicles and whatever else we can try to get with it. That it has to be structured for. Can it be returned without consequences? No. We tried to give it back, couldn't do it. It was structured the way it was. If I tried to give it back, I would have been penalized, possibly got sued. So instead of going that way and using money in a negative fashion, let's put it to a good works. And what we did was, the vehicles that we have was getting outdated. It was costing us astronomical money in maintenance. So in order to go ahead and spend the money wisely and try to get some cost savings, we went ahead and purchased vehicles with that money. That money can only be used for that. It cannot be put into operations. It can't be used for payroll, anything else except for bricks and mortar and special equipment. So I couldn't return it. I would have got fined, so I said, let's go ahead and buy the cars. I got with Michael Martin at the time, and I got with Mike Burris, and it was in the best fit to go ahead and purchase new vehicles. And people thought that what we bought out there was gas guzzlers. Well, I'm going to show you the proofs in the pudding here. Well, after this slide here, this is a bank for $2 million that we bought. Now it belongs to the sheriff's office. When I first got here, they wanted me to go spend $10 million back there at the state school, and I would have got nothing back in return. Zip. But it is the parish government's responsibility to go ahead and provide me with that building. But as you can see, we still sitting in trailers since Katrina. This is deplorable. We can't continue to work like this. More hurricanes are going to come. And when we saw this building here, we thought it was going to be the perfect fit for us, and it actually became reality, which it is a good fit for us. We bought it for $2 million, and we receive $18,000 a month rent because Regions Bank will stay where it's at, and Seco Financial will remain where they're at, and we're going to utilize the top portion right here where they got 16,000 square foot. So we better put all of our administration up there, civil, tax, and the whole works. That way we can get all of our records above from that water line. We cannot afford to lose our records. On the back side of it, there's a 4,000 square foot building there. We're trying to see if possible we can go ahead and add another floor to that so we can put our detective bureau back there. We can put evidence on top, possibly Ty Nim's group around there. We don't know yet. We just got to see what the architect and engineering firms come back with. But I thought this was a perfect fit for us. It was money, I think, that was used wisely. We took the burden a little bit off the government by buying this building for $2 million. Instead of me going in the back spending 10, I saved 8, bought it for 2, and I still got $18,000 a month coming in, and in 10 years this bank is paid for. So I thought it was a perfect fit there. In the front here, as you see, is the Tahoes that we purchased with the bond money, and we got 8 motorcycles like this. We have 8 guys that are trained on the motorcycles right now, with 3 more getting ready to go to school to be trained. I have right now at my disposal about 3 guys, about full-time, but they're going through some training before I can go ahead and cut them loose on the street. You'll see where this is what they cost. The Tahoes, 34 that we bought for $25,400 each with capital bond money. The vehicles that we purchased here, the reason we went this way is because the Crown Victorias are no longer in place. It went on its wayside. The vehicle that Ford wanted to put us into was a small SUV. Now, if you turn around and you look at some of my guys that work for me, we got some big guys. I don't know if it's a McDonald's or Taco Bell but I mean, you know, we have some big guys here, and this thing here gives them the room that they need. I've talked to one of the troopers before I purchased this vehicle. And this guy's been with state police for several years, but all his career, he's been in law enforcement for 28 years, and he said it's the best vehicle he has ever had in the 28 years of law enforcement. And, but I didn't want to just take his word for it. What I did is I went around, talked to many of the other sheriffs while I was up there in Baton Rouge and asked them what kind of vehicles they're going to. The Tahoe was the car they're going to. And, but they wanted us to spend $30,000 for that little Ford product that they wanted to try to put us in. Here we are, we bought these for $25,400. So that's another cost savings on our part, plus for the taxpayers. Motorcycles, I've been hearing time and time again, I paid $26,500. I paid $15,379. I piggybacked off another department that was a bigger department, and they get it at a good bulk rate, at a government rate, and that's what I got. Look at the mileage. People say that we had gas guzzlers. The proof is in the pudding. I don't know if you can see these numbers here. The Tahoe's average saving is 13.14 miles per gallon, compared to the Crown Victoria's 12.05. Reason why? More fuel efficient. It's a newer vehicle. The older vehicles that we have, you know that times technology has totally crept up. Crime statistics, July to December 2011 was 372 total crimes. January to June 2012 was 395 crimes. I took office in July to December 2012, 345 total crimes. We have been more transparent in reporting to the public what's been going on. You got a reduction in the first 6 months of 12.66 crimes in crime here. I know that y'all have seen a lot in the newspapers. I saw that y'all seen a lot on Facebook or on our website. I am not going to hide anything from this public. Whatever happens in this parish, it will be documented and put out for press release. It doesn't matter, you know, if it pertains to our department, good or bad, or anybody else, good or bad, it has to be put out there. You, the public interest, has to know what's going on to better fit for your families, to know how can I protect my families. Lock your doors, lock your cars, watch where your kid is going down the street. In this parish alone, we got more of these sex offenders than you can shake a stick. You have to make sure that we know where your kids are at all times. Crime statistics. You can see the comparison from 2013 and 2012. There it is. It hasn't jumped up, it has went down. 61, 64, 54, 55, 58 to 66, and 62 to 68. It's very comparable, but you need to know that. Patrol Division, number of calls for service in 2012, 15,390. January 1 to May 8, 2012, 5,678. January 1 to May 8, 2013, 5,241. 437 complaints less. Prior to Katrina, we all know that. We know we had a lot of complaints, 18,000 per year. And just recently, like you see it, we restructured all of our shifts. That way it gives the men and women, whoever wants to opt to go to college, can do so, but without interrupting service. Traffic stop data, July 1, 2011 to May 2012. We have conducted 11,150 traffic stops, issuing 2,929 citations. But look here, July 1 through May 2013. We got 9,400 traffic stops to 3,403 citations. And it doesn't matter, they still do what they do. Special Division Services. Ty and his group has done a great job. They got 7 graduations, approximately 456 graders. The visits were made to all K through 4th. It's so successful next year that they're going to extend it to the 8th grade classes. And also the 5th grade is going to coincide with the DA's office project lead. That's going to give us a 200% increase in instructions next year. And by doing all what we're doing here, the guys are doing such a great job. The whole goal is to mentor these young children, make them understand and just really just, I guess you could say, trust us, build that trust factor. And once you can start doing that, then you can come into with your Explorer program and your Junior Deputy program. Those programs right here will come into later as soon as we know where we are with our finances. But all of this was accomplished with no additional manpower and no cost to the taxpayers. Full contact women's self-defense courses, 3 classes this year so far. Bell Chase YMCA, Buras YMCA, and BCHS. 400 girls went through this with 100 women who were trained. Them boys were getting themselves slapped left and right by those girls. They allowed the high school students and the females, adults, to slap them any kind of way they can slap them, punch them, and kick them. And the thing is, it helps them better prepare themselves for whatever challenges they're going to have. Child identification kits, 6 different venues, we almost did 1,000 of them. Buras YMCA, for the first time, graduated 30 graduates. I tell you what, they really, really enjoyed themselves down there with this. And we're trying to get one on the East Bank, and it's going to circulate around the parish continuously. The mock crash presentation, corporate endeavor with the high schools, they did 300 of them to show these children that, do not drink and drive, especially for the proms, and especially texting. We also have child safety seat certifications as get ready to come to the public. Our Criminal Investigations Bureau, Detective Bureau, I'm going to tell you right now, it is the best I have ever seen in the whole history of the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office. The guys work their tail off. I tip my hat off to them. Continue the great work that you're doing. We got total cases of 277, cases closed with 175, open cases 102, arrests made 75, property crime 43, crimes against person 22, 14 sexual offenses, crimes against the state 7, warrant arrests 3. So far this year, we recovered over $203,000 just this year alone in stolen property. Arrest warrants issued was 44, search warrants conducted 46, and sex offender registrations is 42. And those are just the ones we know. That's not the ones we don't know, because when FEMA projects come down here, you don't ever know who we got from what state or from what country. Marine Division did 74 search and rescue operations requiring vessel census to the dock, 4 vessel accidents, 2 fatalities, 6 environmental incidents, and 23 criminal complaints with 3 arrests, but they actually had another one just recently this past week. Our Reserve Division got 25 officers from January 1 to April 30th, have worked 2,753 total hours, averaging 680 hours per month. That is free money right there, what I'm saying. These guys do this for free. It was a combination of $82,575 to the public that was to our attention. Now this part right here is the most important part that we do. And no matter how much money it's going to cost here, I think for me, the men and women that work for me, and for the citizens as a whole, I think it's my job to make sure that these guys are set up for success. Failure is not an object. The men and women of this department put their life on the line every single day. I know citizens over here think that we live in little old Plaquemines Parish, but it happens here too. Don't take for granted because you live here, I don't have to lock my doors, I don't have to lock my car. It happens. And coming up this summer, all these kids are getting out of school. I'm not trying to say these kids are bad kids. They're just very mischievous. They just enjoy just thinking it's fun and games. But I'm going to tell you right now, you leave your cars unlocked, you will get robbed from your cars, whatever you got inside it. It could be pennies, it could be a cell phone, whatever. They're going to take it. But this here is very important. You can see we had 28 classes attended by 143 personnel. I'm striving for these men and women. Every time we got a class for any kind of training, I want them to go to that training. Cost 2,300 hours of training at a very minimal cost to the Sheriff's Office. But like I said, that minimum cost can go up or down. But I prefer it to really go up, because the better well prepared I have them, the better they can protect you. For the first time in Plaquemines Parish history, we got 5 certified field training officers. And I'm not talking about 5 just to say year one, year one, year one. I don't work that way. You are going to go get certified to become a certified field training officer. With this right here, when a guy comes out the academy, we don't just throw him to the dogs and put him on the road and say, here's your car, here's your keys, go about your way. He has to ride with a field training officer for 12 weeks. He does so many weeks down the road, so many weeks on the East Bank, so many weeks in Bell Chase on the road. Then he reports to the Detective Bureau, where possibly he might be going over there and conduct a warrant, knows how to draft a warrant. He shadows that detective, even if he has to go to the coroner to testify on an autopsy. He has to see what's going on here. And then after that, he goes to the operator room so he can see what the operators do. Because let me tell you something, those operators, them phones don't stop. It's constant. People just think that these ladies just sit there. They don't. Then you got the deputies on the street keep calling, 201 this, 234 this, These girls are constant. And they got 2 of them there right now. We tried just the 2. It's not going to work. I'm going to have to go ahead and additionally bring maybe 1 more to go over there to help them out, because 2 is just not going to cut it just for this small parish. Advanced Incident Command Center, ICS, all the staff got trained through this just a couple of weeks ago. And this helps us out during hurricane events. Ty and them did a great job last year, and I know that they're going to be better prepared this year. We'll always have room for mistakes, but you can always improve on your mistakes. You don't want to point fingers. You want to make sure that we identified the problem, let's correct it, move forward. Let's work for the best interests of our community. Another part of training, 3, NPASC certified officers. This here is the officers went to get certified on active shooting events. This year when I went to Bossier City, I went ahead and brought Ms. Danielle Rojas and Ms. Kelly DeMarco from Belle Chase High School to see how St. Charles does this. Sheriff Champagne from St. Charles, his group does a great job educating a bunch of the schools. And they actually got to come up there and watch the event, how it took place, and they was very well impressed with it. So we sent 3 of our guys to go get certified, and they done did so, and we're going to go ahead and emulate trying to make a partnership with our high schools and our elementaries and our primary schools to try to get this thing effective. Internal affairs, I already explained that. Here's another one that really took a good interest for me is after Hurricane Isaac, when we had pulled our guys out from down there because I would not go ahead and let an officer die for a piece of property because of the hurricanes. You never know which way that's going to turn. But we actually got to get back with Sheriff Sig Gautreaux, who is the sheriff of East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. He sent a 20-man team down here, and they were so well professional the way they was conducting their business like that. Me and him sat there and we talked in Baton Rouge one day at one of the LSA meetings, and I told him, I said, Sheriff, I'm very impressed with your men on how they conducted themselves and how they acted, very professional, but they was very aggressive. These guys didn't just want to sit back. They was on top of the Empire Bridge with the night vision glasses, watching where people was breaking into people's homes, sending their guys down there to apprehend these people so we can go ahead and ship those looters to Angola, where they solely deserve to be. When people are away from their homes, you don't want to get burglarized when you're away, especially when you're being asked to leave for a hurricane. 8 officers already went through it. I asked them, how many guys will he allow me to go through there? He says, as many as you want. Well, we're very fortunate. It's not going to cost me or the citizens of this parish 1 red cent. He is going to do my whole entire department for nothing. He puts them up for housing, he feeds them, he gives them some coupons to go to the casino on a break. But they get a chance to go out there and they get to go get in the jump car, running drug dealers down. They deal with prostitutes. Any kind of crime that's committed, they get involved. And I think it's a good thing because now you get our officers, every one of them, to get on the same page to be trained one way. Upgraded equipment that was donated by our district attorney's office, Mr. Charlie. Couldn't thank him enough. We got 9 new radars, 20 new tent meters, 20 new digital cameras. We got body armor being replaced right now as we speak, because we got a lot of the officers out there who has body armor that's expired, and I can't have that. Those guys' lives mean everything to me, but I know it means everything to their families, and it should mean everything to our citizens because these are the guys who work so hard to protect us each and every day, and I appreciate all their efforts, what they do. And all our radars now are certified. The tent meters, I know sometimes people say, oh, this is very trivial, but you have not wore that uniform and stopped the car at night When you exited your vehicle to approach that car or try to ask this person to get out, you don't know if they're pointing a gun at you. That's a scary, scary feeling. And the thing is, I know there's a lot of moms and dads out there that are very proud that their sons and their daughters are, or their husbands or their wives are police officers. And they do have some out there that I know that I have got to talk to over the past several weeks, used to hate the police. And when their son became one, he said, you know, Lonnie, I never liked the police for nothing in the world. I lived in this parish all my life. He said, but when my son became one, and he's not one in this parish, but he said, I hear the horror stories, and it frightens me to death to know that my son's out there, never know who he's dealing with. So those tent meters, I know sometimes people think it's just a trivial thing, but believe me, you're not the one that's got to approach that car. So we're going to be getting very aggressive with it. Mr. Charlie did not spend taxpayers' money for us to just leave them in the cars. I know citizens out here don't like the idea that I'm enforcing the law. They want me to enforce the law, but just not on them. But I got news for you. We're going to enforce them across the board for everybody. We're going to be very discreet and use good discretion and good judgment. See my next slide. And I have any questions here, I'll be more than glad to answer them. If anybody does not want to ask a question, here's the website you can go to. This is the email address. Go ahead and write it down if you have a pen and paper, or if you need a pen and paper, we'd be more than glad to get it for you. Go ahead and email us a question, or 2, or 5, or 10, whatever it is. Whatever issue you have, or whatever question you have, I want to make sure we're transparent. I have been from day one, and I will continue to be until the day you tell me I no longer need to be here. I plan on being here for a long time, if the citizens of this parish permits. And I will make sure I listen to your voices, because it's not always my ideas that's always the best ideas. It's you citizens who put me here, and I have to listen to when you got issues and concerns, and I will do so. So for me to go ahead and read it, it's feedback@ppso.net.
Hello, folks. It's springtime, and here at John Fro's Hardware, we got everything you're going to want, whether you need to be on aisle 1 or way over on aisle 25, whether you're cooking, fishing, planting, growing grass. It doesn't make a bit of difference. Your first stop 7 days a week is John Fro's Hardware. Welcome back to RiverChat, folks. It's time now to go and listen to a little 4-minute segment that our state representative Chris Leopold has sent us. This will pertain to activity that's going on the House floor concerning the MFP, which is the funding mechanism by which we get our monies to the school system here in Plaquemines Parish. And for years, indeed decades, we have been underpaid because we're considered to somehow be a rich parish. And the plain facts of the matter are that our kids that are going to school over here just ain't plain rich. So we'll go now to see what Chris's work's doing.
For the life of me, I cannot understand how we could come up with a plan first and a funding mechanism second. I think it's out of order. I think the cart's before the horse. But let's take it a further step back. The MFP has never been completely understood as witnessed today.
I love Representative Leopold, but let me tell you something. Plaquemines Parish, in the formula itself, regardless of this MFP, they lose $714,000 because of Legacy 2, that the state is funded for umpteen years, and all the local taxes that Plaquemines Parish has accepted then had to spend 1 penny on their kids. These are their kids. He wants someone else to educate them. He wants the state to educate them. Those local dollars now, along with them, and I got to give them credit for trying to do a good job with their budget, now have $54 million in the bank. And they still want someone else to educate their kids. They want the state to educate the kids. That's wrong.
Specifically to my district, and that's who I'm concerned about the most, although I do have a concern about the state as a whole. We've been a whole harmless state, parish for years, and we've been penalized for that. And our tax base locally is low. We get penalized from the state because we manage our money. We're fiscally conservative, yet we're penalized for that from a state perspective. I've never understood that. But let's talk about how it relates here today. My complaint, my point is the Type 2 legacy charter that I was assured in the beginning of this process after getting elected that my district would not be, which is an accountable district, and I do represent three parishes, but the school system that I'm referring to now is Plaquemines Parish, which is the majority of my district, is the 5th best district in the state. Our teachers work hard, they work well within their means, and they work hard every single day doing their job. And that's who I represent primarily. I was assured that we would not be affected adversely by this reform package, and I voted on everything for reform, as many of you did. But now it comes time to pay for it, and you all know where we are with money, budget, and everything else. So I want to use this opportunity to send it back to Bessie to object to this resolution, and let's go in and fix it and tweak it. Also, the fact that it didn't go before appropriations, it's over $3 billion expenditure, and it skips appropriations. I don't think that was procedurally correct and in the best interest of the bill. But again, I thank you all for your attention. Obviously, this thing's gaining some attention, and it's been one of my few objectives the whole session. Let's stick together. Let's stick for reform, but let's fund it the right way. And the best way to do that now is by voting no to this resolution.
In our continuing effort to supply the residents of Plaquemines the convenience of quality medical care, we're pleased to announce that ophthalmologist Dr. Butch Kelly is now available Wednesdays at Plaquemines Medical Center. Eye exams, prescriptions for glasses are just a short ride away. Don't wait 5 hours across the Belle Chase Bridge when for urgent or emergent care, Plaquemines Medical Center is ready to see you.
We approved an ordinance that resulted in cost of living increases for government employees, both classified and unclassified. After further analysis by the Finance Department, we were made aware that the increases would result in $700,000 the first year, and that over a period of 6 years, it would be up to $7.1 million.
Per year, sir?
Total. I'm sure that the council members, none of us were aware of that type of financial burden that we would be placing on future governments. And so on April 15th, I sent out an email with a graph that was provided me by Finance that actually showed the increases per year, totaling
What's your number?
over a period of 6 years, 5 years, was $7.1 million. So with that, I have Ms. Lori Meyer here, our Finance Director, to answer any questions, maybe further explain. And I also know that our legal department worked with you on this in regards to the ordinance and the repeal of the ordinance. So Mr. Palazzo and Ms. Meyer, but Ms. Meyer, if you go first, please.
Sure. Again, I'm going to tell you there were some assumptions that went into these calculations. I was assuming that the cost of living would be a 3%, which has basically been the average that was given to the unclassified on an annual basis, and that it would be given in January of each year. This was for all classified positions. whether they were filled or vacant wasn't taken into consideration. It was just all of the positions. Basically, what happens for us in calculating this is if a cost of living is given to the classified employees, that will be on top of their merit, because based on the civil service rules, and I've discussed this with Mr. Paradellis, the merit increase is what needs to be addressed first, and a cost of living can come after the merit is addressed, because it's a merit-based system. So if a cost of living is approved, that will be on top of a merit increase. So if the unclassified are approved for a 3% cost of living, that will be an additional 3% that will go to the classified on top of their merit increase, if all employees are included as this ordinance directs. Is that clear? And the average cost is about $700,000 additional dollars per year.
But also on that 700,000, incrementally, it does increase.
Yes,
each
if you
year,
do,
right?
oh yes, it goes from a minimum of 638,000 to a maximum of 890-something thousand. So it will continually increase exponentially as the years go on.
That's correct.
Yes.
And that 896,000, that's for the year 2018.
That's correct.
So if the numbers run it the way they're running, it would be over $1 million, well, we over 900,000 the next year, and then $1
Right,
million
the
in
next-
addition to what we already are budgeting for salaries.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Over 5 years, you'll be looking at another $3.8 million.
Any other comment or question about this matter, Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, when Mr. Turner is finished, I'll go.
Ms. Myers, what's the current cost of funding the classified and over 5 years? At what point, the 1 million or the 700,000, the 1 million that we're talking about, at what point will the rate, at the rate we're going, only giving it to the classified eclipse that? At what point? Because at some point, right, it will. We're constantly increasing it, and so at some point it's going to eclipse it. At what point would that be?
I'm not quite sure I follow the question there, Mr. Turner. Can you repeat
Yes,
that?
yes, ma'am. If we're concerned about $1 million, right, increasing the cost by $1 million.
Per year, right?
Right,
Okay.
$1 million per year. At what point will the cost, what time will the rate that we're giving a 3% raise, cost of living raise to the classified eclipse that? Because at some point, the unclassified eclipse that. At some point, it will. Okay. If you can't answer, no problem.
No,
We'd have
it's
to
just
figure it
that,
out.
it's just
I
that
understand.
I'm not understanding, because right now, as it stands without this ordinance being in place, the unclassified usually get a 3% cost of living at the beginning of each year. And no merit. No, they're only.
No, I understand.
Right.
And here's another issue. I think we're confusing the two. And even though you're mentioning the two, you're mentioning the merit, which I think has nothing to do with what we're asking for, because we're asking about funding the unclassified. This is strictly a cost of living. I'm sorry. This is strictly a cost of living. So when we add the merit, then we muddy the water. The issue is, well, I'm hearing it all goes together, but let's talk about that. You also said, Ms. Myers, that, and here's where it got a little muddy, in that when you started talking about the merit, in that we have to first take care of the merit, right? Well, that's the way it is today. By law, we have to first take care of the merit.
Agreed.
But the way it's presented, the way it comes across, regardless of intention, but the way it comes across is though this would be something new. We have to take care of this first. That is done automatically.
No, the intention was to make sure that the council understood they couldn't opt to do a cost of living instead of a merit. It's that the merit takes precedence over the cost of living. That's
Well,
what that was
But,
for.
okay, and if that was the intention, fine, but that was never, even when it was initially offered, it was never offered as a replacement, you know, because again, I even presented it as two separate issues, which they are. And civil service dictates the raise, the merit raise, or the performance raise, if we want to look at it that way. For the unclassified, the council gets to weigh in as to whether or not we would approve a performance raise or a merit raise for them. We have that option. But my issue is when we give a cost of living raise, that's what we're talking about. We don't even need to discuss merit. It's two separate issues. Okay, so cost of living. If we can't afford, if it's an affordability issue, if we can't afford it for all, then at the current rate we are giving it, then the answer to that is reduce the rate.
Which brings me to the point that I had, and it's the point that you just made, is that the unclassified employees, if the legislation stands as it was adopted, then the unclassified employees will get nothing. But at the same time, the classified employees will get their merit increase. Is that not correct?
Budget permitting,
Okay.
budget permitting,
Probably at least 6 months ago, we have repeatedly asked the parish administration, particularly the attorney's department, to go out for RFPs to see if we had some options on this, which has absolutely been refused to been done. I've had 500 ignorant excuses of why it couldn't be done. It seems that when Mr. Nungesser wants some things done, they manage to get done overnight. When I've asked about this, it wasn't offered. I believe what we got going on here is an attempt to keep the status quo of a party place, which is exactly what this place was in the past, along with the area that was sometime used for drug trafficking. I do not wish to support this at this time until we can get some further information of whether the nonprofit can be done. I don't think we have any answers as far as what property we own and don't own. I don't know if we'll be precluded from actually putting a nonprofit in place. And to be honest with you, when I walked into the room with the interested parties with the nonprofit, seeing quite a few of the local movers and shakers in the room that had the parish's best interest at heart, I was quite astounded at the people I've seen in the room. And I'm going to certainly ask that if we can at least go out for the RFPs that I've asked the parish attorney's office to do in the past that were refused to be done according to our legislation. And I'm going to ask the council to vote against this.
I still love you guys, even though you guys want to beat us up over the legal department. And I appreciate what y'all are trying to do. You know, Anthony, we've had talks, and I know this is dear to your heart. You grew up over there. We were given an assignment, the legal department was given an assignment to actually go out and try to create an RFP in reference to Port Ease. Unfortunately, I've never been out to Port Ease. I'd like to go out there one day. I heard it's a beautiful $30 million project. The problem that we've had is because it's a $30 million project and what we're trying to do and the requirements that it takes, it's taking an enormous amount of time to put together an RFP. And last 2 weeks ago, we actually talked about it here at the council meeting. We are almost completed that RFP, and part of our completion was when we determined as soon as we determined it, we sent it to your attorney, and we sent it to every council member, a copy of a lease that was with the state of Louisiana, and a copy of documentation that shows that the federal government owns part of the property where we're building a $30 million marina. So to do our due diligence, we gave that information to you guys. We are still currently, as soon as I heard that information, I sent out our surveyor to go out there to clarify, and actually we're going to be preparing maps for the whole council members so they can see exactly what the parish owns. It's my understanding right now, I think we might actually own a walkway. It's going to be a pretty nice walkway, but that's the extent of what we own right now. We provided the council with the lease that says the lease is with the state of Louisiana, and the lease expires in 3 years. We spent some time calling up the state to try to find out who knew about this lease, because I don't believe anybody on the council knew about the lease. I don't know if Mr. Burris knew about the lease. I don't know if anybody on the council or in my administration or my legal team knew about who owned what, but we found it out. So we called up and we talked to the people at the state, and what they told us is that we've been in violation for the last 50 years of the way we've been operating Port Ease. And we asked them at that time, who do we need to talk to? Is there a possibility that what we're trying to do, can we get it to be done? And they told us about what we shared with the council and what Mr. Anthony, and because that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing here. All we're doing is giving information, because one of the things that came to my attention from the first day I've been here, there's been a lack of communication. And what we're trying to do is give the information to everybody about what's going on here. So we were told by the state that we were in violation of the lease, that this was supposed to be done for public recreation. And we told them about the idea of sending it out to the private. They said they didn't think they were going to go for it. We think, as responsible and attorneys and people representing the council and the parish, that we have to inform people of these issues, because when you're going to try to send something out for an RFP, that you want somebody, a private entity, to come in and lease a $30 million project and you don't own it, I think that's a big issue there. I think that's a big issue.
But it would be okay to give a nonprofit the same, would they be allowed to give it to a nonprofit if we don't own it?
So what we were doing is,
Palazzo?
what we were doing, well, let me finish and I'll answer your question. What we were doing is giving you this information, and we also, what we were doing, which has been on the table for months also, is giving you the second option. We don't have a dog in the fight. You guys make the rules. You guys make the decision. Y'all decide what you want to do. My job is, as your attorney, is to tell you the objectives, the issues, and the problems. That's my job, and that's all we're doing. So you decide how you want to handle it. But let me finish. One thing with the time of the essence, which everybody needs to know here. But for the fact that the contractors on this project are several months behind, this project would be in our lap today, right now, and we would have to have somebody out there operating and spending money on it right now. And that's what we meant by when they said time is of the essence. Time is of the essence because within 2 months, if you guys don't do something, one way or the other, 2 months, it's going to be in our lap. And we're going to have to be able to fund it and run it. That's your call.
First of all, our call was to ask you to do RFPs, and that's what we're supposed to do, and we tasked you to do what y'all refused to do. Second of all,
that's incorrect. That's incorrect.
Let me
no,
finish.
It's totally incorrect.
Leo,
it's totally incorrect. No, if you're going to make a statement, if you make a statement, don't sit there and say, I refuse to do something. That is incorrect.
Stop. And the second thing, I do not want to hear about time is of the essence when y'all have been sitting on this for 6 months. And please do not tell me about the contractor being behind. When y'all keep picking contractors and giving out campaign contributions, that's exactly what's going on here. So please don't put that on our shoulders. Thank you, sir.
Well, another River Chat comes to an end, folks. No more tolls on the Crescent City connection. Boy, that's sure a whole lot of fun. They got problems for those folks over there in Mora, Oklahoma. And it's getting ready to be June 1, and we all know too well what that means. It's the start of the hurricane season, and we're going to want to get involved in reminding everyone about their responsibilities and being prepared for a hurricane. And we'll go seek out the folks here in the parish that are responsible for that in River Chat coming up. So until then, good night.